Good evening, everyone. Just a quick question. Have you ever dreamed, actually, of investing in a young startups that is about to hire your kids, your grandkids tomorrow? Have you ever dreamed, actually, to maybe invest in the shopping center, in the mall where you're going to go shopping this weekend? Have you ever dreamed, actually, because you are a doctor, to found a young biotech that is going to be able to cure most of the people? Today, this is real. It is called equity-based crowdfunding. And today I got the pleasure actually to present you WiSEED, which is one of the leader of equity crowdfunding. So just a quick story actually of WiSEED. WiSEED actually was one of the very first equity-based platform. If we look back in the history, I think we were the very first to launch that first equity-based operation. In the meanwhile, UK, US-based platform indeed have presented huge volume, but indeed we were still very innovative at the very beginning. Today we have a massive crowd actually of roughly 50K investors. What is very important and magical about that crowd is the fact that on the same platform you have people investing roughly €100 and people investing 100K at the same conditions in the same target, and this is actually the challenge of crowdfunding, to enable any type of investors, you and me, to be able in that kind of asset. We have a large team actually of 20 employees spread all around France. We have made the choice actually to be close to the startups, to be close to the regions, to be able to spot, to identify directly the best startups on this territory. And what is important to understand is that all value add is on the selection and the due diligence of the different startups. So we have hired actually people specialized in biotech, ICTs, green tech, clean tech, that are able actually to monitor this kind of startups. So far it's 57 startups that have been founded on WiSEED, and a massive actually figure of 25 million euros raised on that platform. Just a couple actually of elements regarding our values. As I said, we need to be innovative. We need to be pioneers on the way that we address the crowd, on the way that we address actually startups and real estate projects. 2 years ago, we started as well to apply our model to the funding of real estate projects using the same base, the same fundamentals of equity-based crowdfunding. In terms actually of being a leader, which is quite funny, is that on the web, everyone is the first one. But what is important to remember is the fact that we've got the chance to be part of sort of revolution. We have a nice market. Different types of platforms are getting specialized. But what's important here about WiSEED is that, like I said, we have PhD analysts, we have people able to analyze the startups and as well organize the follow-up of that kind of investment. And finally, committed. I think this is very important. If you look about the motivations that the crowd is following when they are investing, is the fact that they are looking for social causes beyond actually the fact that obviously they want a return on investment, obviously they may be interested for tax interest, but at the end they are very keen to invest in biotech, in green tech, in clean tech, in the type actually of startups that is going to be able to change the future, in the type of startup that they want to support. In terms of business model, the big challenge when you look about crowdfunding is how do you manage to have a crowd of, let's say, 500 individuals becoming shareholders of a single startups. And this implies a sort of financial engineering that will facilitate the governance of all that model. So systematically we use a special purpose vehicle that is going to help us to merge all the shareholders in one specific vehicle, and that vehicle afterwards is going to be able to invest in the startups. So the single point of contact for the entrepreneurs is WiSEED, and the single point of contact as well for the crowdfunders is again WiSEED. So we coordinate all that actually capital increase, and obviously we coordinate afterwards the follow-up of the participation. So we are sort of coach, a manager for the different entrepreneurs. Most of them are quite immature in terms actually of capital increase. They could be excellent technicians, they could be good managers, but they really need to be, trained in what is going to be a capital increase, what's going to be a shareholder, what's going to be the valuation, what's going to be the portfolio management. So all these aspects need actually to be brought to the different startups. If you look actually of, on our process, you have to understand as well the fact that we have to differentiate ourselves from venture capitals, we have to differentiate ourselves from banks, and what is very important for the success of a startup is the speed. And we have today roughly an end-to-end process that is about 2-3 months time between the first point of contact with the startups until the capital increase. So we need to be quick, efficient in terms of due diligence, in terms of capital increase, collecting the cash, delivering the cash, and after organizing actually the follow-up. And for that, we have a formal process with an investment committee, which is quite close actually to the way venture capital works. But in addition to that, in addition to our experts, in addition to our board, we have as well decided to use the collective intelligence of a crowd, and I will come back to that afterwards. And this is actually what we call internally an EVOT. So what's an EVOT? It's a very powerful tool that helps us to gather all the critics, all the recommendations, all the single limited analysis that our community of investors is able to provide. So specifically when you have like a business to consumer product, when the startup is going to be online or on a platform, she's going to address investors, obviously, but she's going to address as well potential clients, potential customers. And that EVOT is a perfect way for them to be challenged, to gain visibility, to organize a sort of communication campaign. You have to understand that crowdfunding is obviously about finance, it is a lot about communication. And that EVOT helps us to mutualize our expertise and the collective intelligence of a crowd. And when you have, for instance, 1,000 crowdfunders being able to challenge a business to consumer product, it's a wonderful lesson. It's a wonderful experience actually for the entrepreneur, because thanks to that, even if it's a no-go decision, even if unfortunately the EVOT is negative, it's going to be able to, like on Kickstarter, to learn maybe to improve this product, to improve actually its marketing approach. So this is actually the sort of a challenge of the crowdfunding when we speak about collective intelligence. Coming back to our process, I said at the very beginning of the presentation that one specific element about WiSEED is the fact that we are able to accept investment ticket at €100. That makes us very different, very committed actually to our crowd. But for that, we had actually the challenge to minimize, to reduce of cost of transaction, how to manage actually a back office that will be able to industrialize, automatize, actually that kind of subscription. So if you look at our back office, everything actually is developed internally. We completely own our back and front office. Everything is paperless. Everything is working actually thanks to Limonway here with e-wallet and payment card. Simply to have the process, a lean process, to be able actually that we spend minimum time by phone with the investors, and that most of the investors can collect the different information online. Every investor has on the back office a specific account where he will be able to follow his investment. He will be able to download tax certificates. He will be able to vote it electronically. We have everything related to electronic signature. So you really have to understand that when you look at the crowdfunding platform, what you see on the front office, on the web page, actually is the very top of the iceberg. The very challenge actually is the back office. How do you industrialize and how you create that sort of connection between the crowd and the startups, but still with a limited amount actually of human resource. So to conclude, it's important actually to consider that once you have raised, yes, let's say between 100K and €1 million, which is actually the range of investment for WiSEED, the work starts after actually that capital increase, because afterwards we're speaking about startups, so we are speaking about 5 to 7 years actually of portfolio management, and the decision that will make actually a positive exit or unfortunately a liquidation is how well you're going to be able to coach, to follow up actually the startups. And this is the reason why actually WiSEED from the very beginning, has decided to bring value add to the startups by using on one side obviously the community of the WiSEEDers, the community of the crowdfunders, that huge network of 50,000 individuals that want to support, that want to be involved actually in the growth of the startup that they have invested in. And on the other side, we are building a whole community of experts in marketing, in finance, in international development, in legal, in tax, to bring them, to give them actually the necessary skills that at one specific time of a growth they will need. So thanks for your time, thanks for your listening. What you really have to understand is that beyond crowdfunding, beyond the funding actually of startups and real estate projects, the key is that all the investors want to be entrepreneurs, and they want in a way to be investors, entrepreneurs, and to be involved in what they invest in. They want transparency, and they want to be sort of citizens of the world. Thank you for your time.
Mark, hi. Have you ever rejected an application from a startup?
Oh yeah, I mean, if we look at the number of applications that we receive, only 5% actually of the applications are funded. So we have, like you have seen during the process, several steps where indeed during the EVOT, during the first due diligence, during the second due diligence, unfortunately, a lot of startups, I mean, are rejected. And it's a very risky, actually, asset. It's intangible assets. So we need to be very careful and very, what do you say, selective in the type of startups that we are about to fund. I mean, we all know that, let's say, the risk of loss of capital is roughly around 50%. So we need indeed to select only the best of the startups that, let's say, in 5-7 years' time will be able to provide internal rates of return of 15-20% per year.
Do you give any documents to the investors, to each person, or it is like everybody together?
I mean, there are like two specific answers behind your question. The first thing is that WiSEED actually is regulated by the financial regulation, Autorité des marchés financiers. And because of that, we have a list of specific information that we need to share with the investors. We have to warn them about the risk. We have to give them information about the shareholder agreement, about the valuation, about obviously the business of the startups. And so behind these disclaimers, we have as well, obviously, a sort of data room behind the profile, accessible online, that any investor is able actually to download. So it could be a business plan, it could be a license, it could be, say, prototypes, it could be technical elements. So we are very keen to provide a full data room, actually, to our WiSEEDers, to our crowdfunders, to help them to make the best decision. Considering on the other side that obviously some of the documents may be confidential, so our value add is just to determine what is confidential and what is not, and at the same time for obviously high net worth individuals, we can give them access to a larger base of information. Okay,
when the funding raise is done, do you provide any support to the people, or the people are all together, like in a, how do you say that? Like, you have everybody, like, this is WiSEED, the people of WiSEED has this participation in the startup, or is every single person?
No, I mean, like I said, our business model is using a special purpose vehicle. So WiSEED is in charge actually of establishing every time one specific purpose vehicle. We are the president actually of that special purpose vehicle. So by that we are the portfolio manager. So we have in charge actually to give the maximum support to this crowdfunder, just to keep them informed. I mean, obviously, if we look at our shareholder agreement, we force the startup to provide us with quarter reporting. So they will receive actually that kind of reporting, and in addition to that, they obviously can challenge us in terms of question. And if obviously when we are getting closer and closer to a potential exit, this is what I will conclude with, is that for instance, when WiSEED was the very first actually a platform to realize a positive exit. Even of like Crowdcube is saying that they are the first one. So yeah, back to 2012, it was a nice cash out with a young biotech, and he was worldwide the very first positive exit. And here again, obviously, we were in charge of explaining actually to the investors that we are about actually to do a cash out, that they were about to sell their shares. And obviously, because we are in crowdfunding, they were invited to vote and decide if yes or no they were willing actually to sell their shares. Obviously, with an internal rate of return of 44%, they all accepted actually to sell their shares. And yeah, it was a nice success story. And here again, it pinpoints the importance actually of follow-up and staying very close actually to the startups to be sure to manage that kind of positive exit.